Everyone's looking for an easy button. I don't think the easy button is the right answer. I think the what is most effective button. And today, during this episode, you're going to hear from somebody who has taken one of the largest McDonald's franchises and been successful in multiple areas. And he boils down their system of how he led 4,000 plus employees with over 70 restaurants, 70 McDonald's restaurants, and took the worst performing area in the country to the best performing area in the country, and did it in 12 months. The way that he did that, he shares his system today, exactly tooth for tooth, nail for nail. In this podcast, there is going to be massive value for an hour straight. Buckle up. Hey guys, this is Brett Young, Taylor Young, and Rod Erb, and you're tuned in to the Be Extraordinary podcast with Erb and Young. Real conversations about business, leadership, and personal development. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Welcome back to ESP. No, I'm just kidding. I hope we don't get sued for that one. But this is Brett Young with the Be Extraordinary podcast. I've got my main man and my partner, Mr. Taylor Young, and we have a very special guest for you today. And I have a page full of notes, so many questions to ask you, Bob. The book that you just wrote was absolutely, first of all, it's my first book of the year. So 2024 will forever be remembered for Creating Happiness, which is an incredible book. And so if you're listening to this today, I would encourage you, you're going to get your mind blown with some of the things that we have implemented already inside of our office based upon the conversations that we've had with Bob. But then we're reinforced by the book that he just wrote. So go pick yourself up a copy of that book, Generating Happiness, by Bob Conigliaro. How do I say that? Conigliaro is how I say it.
You got to commit. Conigliaro.
Yeah. Matt gives me, he gives me a little prep on that because he says it all the time. But man, if I was to say it the first time, there's no way I would have got that. But Bob, thank you so much for being on the show. Before I kind of introduce you and give your background, I just want to say, man, from the bottom of our heart, I have been looking forward to this podcast for months now.
and I as well. I see you guys as giants, not only in this industry, but giants walking the earth, sharing so much of your heart and your experience with people to help them grow and realize their potential. That it's just an honor to be in this seat with you guys.
Oh, man.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you.
The honor is ours. Honors ours. So, well, for those of you that don't know Bob, Bob, you probably have one of the most pedigreed career resumes, backgrounds of anybody that I have had the chance to talk to. And I know last time we spoke, it was during breakfast, and I felt like it was one of those VIP special access behind the curtain breakfasts where you got to ask all these cool questions and learn about, just different lessons through your stories and journeys. And I think we were there for, 2.5 hours. I mean, It was amazing. So you're just a wealth of knowledge. 47 years, and I think this is on the book, 47 years under the arches of McDonald's.
Yes.
Unbelievable. Have you met somebody with more tenure inside the company?
Yeah, the president he retired after 50 years. He has since passed. That would be Chuck Peterson. And then there was another vice president that retired, Scott Toole. He had 48 when he retired. But when they left, I was last man standing of the dinosaurs that were there in the company. And I had 47 years in when I retired.
47 years. You talk about the background and experiences that are gained. 47 years of running one of the biggest McDonald's franchises in the country.
Yes.
With, at one point, 70, how many stores?
78 at one point.
78 stores. 78 McDonald's units. That is absolutely, number one, mind-blowing. I don't even know what that looks like. That's insane. I mean, we have a hard enough time getting our hands around this small business that we have. And then, to hear that, I can't even fathom the challenges and the dynamics. And man, so a lot of the stuff that you're going to hear today, this transcends multiple industries. It transcends size. It transcends personalities, and it's just. And the reason I say that is because in the book you talk about there's a moment in time, I think when Casper's was at 40-something units, 47 stores, right. And you guys took over, what is it, the Tallahassee area?
Yes.
So you take over the Tallahassee area. It's the worst performing area in the state, correct?
Actually, in the country.
In the country?
Yeah, their numbers were horrific.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. So this is even better. My mind's blown already. So worst performing area in the country. And within a short time frame, you guys take what you had done in Tampa, the Tampa market, installed the program in the worst performing area in the country, and it becomes the fastest growing and best performing. I thought it was the state.
In the country.
In the country.
Wow.
Yeah, it was phenomenal transition up there. We took over from an operator that was failing, and we only purchased 11 locations from them. At that time, we had, I think, 46, 47 stores in Tampa Bay, and then we bought those 11 stores, and we sent several of our leaders up there into the market, and they installed our MO. And it really is not a complicated formula. I'll discuss that in just a moment. But we had 3 key people and a depressed area and a lot of opportunity, and that's the way we looked at it. And what we installed, and I itemized this in one of the chapters, it's part of a 3-legged stool to create a brand. Although we operated brand McDonald's, our franchise, Casper's Company, had a brand of our own. Mm-hmm. And McDonald's 3-legged stool of success that they still talk about today are one leg is the franchisees, one is the corporation, and the other one is the suppliers. And they all work in a symbiotic fashion to the benefit of all 3. So anything that the corporation would do would benefit the franchisees and the suppliers, and the same went for each leg. Now, for us at Casper's, what I recognize to be a different 3-legged stool to create our own brand. And that was, number 1, take care of your employees at the highest possible level that you can. Number 2, take care of your community. Give back at the highest possible level that you can afford to. And for different companies, that's different levels.
Right.
Some can sponsor big events. Some can only do something small. And the third thing, and this was significant, especially in the hospitality space, take care of your physical plant.
This one was big for me.
Where your employees come to work every day. Think about a restaurant in Florida that the air conditioning doesn't work, mm-hmm. or the guests that are coming in and the restrooms are not in good order. Yeah. Your employees will transfer any level of discontent or uncomfortableness to their exchanges with those that are bringing in the revenue to run your business. Mm-hmm. They just won't interact properly if they're not taken care of properly. So we took that model up into Tallahassee. The stores were physically, they needed a lot of soap and water. Mm. So we added a lot of soap and water. We cleaned them up. The employees, many were wearing their own uniform. There was no uniform policy up there. Everybody got brand new uniforms, and each employee got 3. We had a shoes for crews policy with safe shoes for everyone in there.
Yeah.
and we dressed them up.
Wow.
And that was phase one. We cleaned the restaurants, taking care of our employees, and eventually we started sponsoring the local parades, and we got involved with the Ronald McDonald House up there, who had very little support, and big golf tournaments. We started telling you back when this happened, the Brad Johnson Ronald McDonald House charity golf tournament. If you remember Brad Johnson,
Super Bowl Brad Johnson, right?
Yeah, we're going back a way. He helped bring us to the Super Bowl. So anyway, within a year, those stores went from the worst performing to the number one increasing sales McDonald's in the system. One store in particular, Tennessee and Dewey, right next to FSU up there, was a store that couldn't believe their volume was as low as it was, and we had a university store near USF in Tampa. It was our highest volume store. You would figure, that would be the same in Tallahassee. It wasn't. And so we obviously observed why, took care of some of those things, and we decided we think we could turn this into a 24-hour restaurant. And everybody thought, no, you can't do that. Not here, not there. We did. And we doubled the volume in that restaurant by doing that. And there was another store near FAMU, and we decided to totally remodel that in Rattler theme out there. And at the grand opening, we brought in some of the Marching 100 out there. It was a
Community.
big event. I got a moment for me was when one of the alumni came to me and he said, "Excuse me." He introduced himself as one of the alumni of FAMU. He says, "Tallahassee always seemed to be a one university town. Nobody has ever done a damn thing for us."
Oh, wow.
Until you came in over here. And he says, "I just want to tell you, you're going to see support from us here like you've never seen before."
Wow.
Man, that just grabbed my heart, and I hugged him and said we were happy to do that. So these are some of the things that we did that made the difference. I'll tell one other story. The general managers of the management teams in some of these restaurants would ride to work on a bicycle, on a moped, take a bus. Many of them, they just didn't have vehicles of their own. So I remember at the Christmas party, I went up there and emceed the Christmas parties all the time. So at the end of the party, we gave out some door prizes and whatnot. And all the general managers were there with their spouses. And I said, after these awards are done, there's a table in the back, and you'll see Kim Siegler there. He waved his hand. I want you all to go back and see Kim Siegler to pick out the colors of your new company car.
Wow.
And man, what a moment.
Oh, my goodness.
I mean, I get filled up with emotion just remembering the hugs and the tears and the crying of those that day or the day before, they were getting off of a bus or riding a bike to get to work. So take care of your employees, take care of your physical plant, and take care of your community, and your business will grow unlike any other.
Wow. That was that was lesson 4 in my notes. So that was amazing because, I know that all of us have kind of resonated on this. Rod Taylor and I have resonated on the take care of your physical plant, just because we're in the insurance business, so it's more intangible than it is. Right. We have a retail store, but there have been some things. I feel like we do a good job with taking care of our team, we could definitely do a better job in the community, but we're pretty big community people. However, where I think we learned a lot from our last conversation with you is take care of your physical plant and how important that is. And I know that we walked away from that conversation going, we have some room improvement. You know, we have some room for improvement. We might not have clients coming through here every single day, but the way that this place looks and how it's up to date and how it's taken care of directly impacts the people that are serving our clients and directly impacts the lives of the people that we're honored to do business with every day, our team. And I had never heard anybody say that. I don't know if you had heard anybody say that today.
Not to where it was that clear, you know, and I think one thing you mentioned, even the technology, you know, the computers and the age and the speed that are operating, our people are able to operate with. You know, sometimes we'll get a complaint from a team member that their computer is slow. Yeah. And you try to sift out whether we can do anything to the computer to speed it up or you can get it going. But after it shows that it still continues to be slow, after that conversation, it's like you have no other option. We have to buy another computer because if a team member coming in, that is their vehicle to the customer. That is they're having frustration behind a computer that is not operating at a speed is a simple thing that I've learned from the conversation. That to me is part of taking care of your plant because that is what your team member is operating on.
Well, Bob, you talk about that in the book about the maintenance, the real cost of, let's say, one of the fryers being down.
Yes.
I mean, you go through a whole series in the book of a chain of events that my mind was blown. And I was like, man, I just figured, okay, well, yeah, it's down, so you lose some revenue. But no, I mean, the time it takes to report it, the time the manager has to then take to write it up, the time it takes to get the technician in, the time it takes to, I mean, you went through a whole series of that. And I'm just, in our business, I'm just relating it back to the frustration. You talk about the frustration. I mean, there's just all these different things that have soft costs in business that don't show up necessarily on a P&L, but you exaggerate that over multitudes of multiple team members and multiple stores. It's a huge line item. And talk to us a little bit about how you guys handled that and how you were different with maybe your competitors, but also just inside the McDonald's system, because you talked about Casper having its own brand inside the system.
When it came to the physical plant and maintaining it, very, very early in the company, they made the decision that we need to have, instead of calling outside vendors to fix problems, you know, the larger the problem, you may have to bring in some outside help. But a lot of the day-to-day things that go down, we could have an internal maintenance division that can solve these problems faster than us getting on a list of a private vendor that when they can get to you, that they will. So we created an internal service company to take care of our locations because we were growing. Just a little aside before I forget, Tallahassee, that we bought the 11 stores, we grew that to 27 locations in a few short years.
Unbelievable.
I mean,
almost the whole panhandle.
Almost
we
triple.
were in 2 time zones up there. And yes, we had that kind of service to our locations up there as well. So anyway, we started our own internal service company. And as we grew and we went from the first generation to the second and then the third generation of the Casper family running it, Blake Casper, the third owner, thought that, you know, maybe we could have this service company service other McDonald's other than just our own. And there were some bumps in the road to make that happen, but that eventually happened. And they started serving other businesses, and that business just grew exponentially. But back to the original point, being able to take care of something that is down, be it a shake machine, which has its own share of side jokes about that.
We've all been in the McDonald's line or any fast food
They're
restaurant.
the ones that like
shakes
most of the
down.
time don't work. The shake machines are a real problem, right?
Yeah.
My understanding.
Those are a consistent problem out there. To a fryer going down or a POS system going down. They're all significant, not only for the morale of your employees that are now operating at a deficit, whatever it is, whatever's down, they're now operating at a deficit, and they have to confront the guests that never stop coming. They never stop. Although you screw them over enough, they'll stop coming. They'll stop coming large.
We call those good problems, right?
Yeah. So the faster you can take care of a piece of equipment that's down or whatever it may be, the faster that employee will be happier to serve and greet at that magic moment. That's what we coined it. It's that magic moment when you show up at the drive-through window or the counter and they smile at you and say, welcome to McDonald's. Or you get that opportunity to hand out that Happy Meal. Here you go, princess. Have a great day. Everything has to be working properly. There are so many factors that most people in the industry really don't need to know about on what it takes for them to operate at a high level. There's thousands of things managers have to be aware of and make sure that they are up to par at any given moment. And when one goes down, it's throwing a wrench in the spokes of a tire. Things stop. Anyhow, that's a long way of answering a short question.
Yeah, it's a huge deal. I mean, and just like little things in here, like we're in the Orlando office, and we've got it's a good inventory check. We just made a couple fixes to the Melbourne office, and I just think that we're having this repainted. Just like these simple little things that get put off, and it's just like they don't matter. They're fine. We can kick the can, and I know that you've made a dramatic impact on us when it comes to that's part of the secret to success. Like that is a component. It's not a nice to have. It's one of your ingredients that allowed you to go to 70 plus stores and take the worst performing area and make it into the best performing area and use the same success story or the same success system that you've had. And it's at the top of the list in regards to what you would do if you were going to do it again. And I know that's been transferable, and I know the people that listen to this podcast, I just think that's one of the things that is not talked about ever. And yes, it's relatable to hospitality. Yes, it's relatable to retail for sure. But just like you say, it's relatable to every single business. And I think it's relatable to your desk. If you're not running a business, if you're a professional, like how you treat your desk. Is it tidy? Is it set up for success? Is it ready to go? Like do you treat it with respect? Is it going to give you the return that you're looking for? Like, I just think, to me, I just look at it's had a whole shift on my philosophy on just the way that I approach, and that it matters. It matters. I had a couple questions today. I don't want to jump you, but I wanted to kind of talk about your story specifically, Bob, in regards to 47 years. What was the height of the team members? How many team members you were in charge of leading at the height of maybe the amount of team members that you guys had under your umbrella?
Well, it depends what level of team member you want to talk to, but I was responsible for the incentives, the company trips, the crew rallies where we had 1,000 crew members out, to breakaways for managers. We had 50, 60 at.
How many people in the
service?
System?
We had close to 4,000 employees.
Wow. 4,000 employees. I just wanted to give the listeners a perspective of just the scale and size of that, because it's hard to wrap your head around. And so, you talk about taking care of your employees. Obviously, you didn't do that all yourself, right? You had to have great managers and great people to help you. Talk to us a little bit about the relationship between you and, the people that were, in essence, pushing down your message, and were fanning the flame of, the things that you wanted duplicated through the organization, and how you obviously did it at an effective level, and maybe what would you kind of attribute that to?
That's a great question that I'm excited to answer. First of all, one of the philosophies of our company was that we prefer to promote from within, as opposed to someone without any experience, may have had some management experience in some other business, and they want to come into management in our company. 85% of all of the leadership in our company started like I did, at the restaurant level. When I had the privilege to speak in schools, and I've spoken from kindergarten to graduate schools in there, I tell them the story that my first responsibility was cleaning toilets and urinals. And I say that tongue-in-cheek. It's not like that's the only thing that I did when I started, but that was the first responsibility that I had. And I moved up learning how to cook French fries, how to cook burgers, how to toast buns, how to serve at the front counter. When I started, we didn't even have drive-thrus back then.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
1975, there were no drive-thrus at that time. So anyhow, I learned everything from the ground level on up, and that gives you credibility and sensitivity to those that that travel that path behind you. You are able to speak to them with authority because you have been there, experienced that, and you can help them avoid the pitfalls that may be in front of them. That's what everything that you guys are doing by relating to people the stories of your journey. It enables them to embrace the challenges as opposed to being deterred by the challenges. When you've been there, done that, you can help them finesse their way through it. So at our company, those in our accounting department, almost all of them came from the stores.
Really?
They grew up and they came in. So when they have a manager calling the office that is short 3 people, they know a big inspection is coming, and they got a piece of equipment down, they understand it intimately, what they're going through, and they can speak to them in such a fashion that someone without that experience simply could not. Because there would be no empathy there at all, where they are totally empathetic, and in some cases would say, okay, I get it. You take care of business. We'll talk to you. We'll get that information from you later. Bam. That's done because they have that empathy. Where somebody says, no, look, I need this information now. I got to report it to, whomever. It didn't happen. Wow. We had that level of empathy. So we prefer to promote from within. And whenever I put some program together, I had to think it through. If I'm going to put a promotion together or buy one, get one of some, what time of year is it? How are our stores staffed? How's our supply chain? Wow. What does it mean to them if I put this promotion together for them and they can't handle it?
Right.
And the customers come in and they can't get it. I wind up doing more damage than good. And being in a position to understand how the whole giant machine works allows you to have much more sensitivity in the decision making that you make that'll impact your employees.
That's a great answer.
So I got to know, and what's really ironic is that we were introducing you, and you met a couple of the team members this morning, and Amanda Trammell, who you met, we talked about her new position and promotion, And without even sharing with you, Bob articulated exactly what happened. He said, I know exactly what happened. You did such a good job in your past few roles that you made them create a position for you because you could add more value.
Exactly.
And I was like, did somebody just tell Bob that? Because that's exactly.
Did you say that to her this morning?
Yes.
Oh my God.
He said, I know exactly. So when you talk about the credibility and experience, that is so relatable. But I do want to talk about, when you talk about relating, because you've held a position, there was a great story in the book about when you were closing down. It was 10 minutes, 15 minutes before the shift was in. You were sending people home because the store was dead. And all of a sudden you have a bus full of kids or college kids come in, and you're going to be faced with an undermanned team right before the store closes, and you have to deliver. And the reason I want you to share that story a little bit, and because I feel like we're all faced with those moments. And will you talk about how you handled it, and when in reality you were faced with this seemingly impossible situation, and your team had to be looking at you saying, are you going to
even let him in?
Are we even going to let him in?
Yeah.
And so I would love for you to share some insight of how those moments can shape a career, shape a team, and shape that customer's experience.
I remember it clearly, and it really is a fun, great story. I'm running a restaurant on Armenia Avenue in Tampa, Florida, and it's a Friday night. It's football night.
Yep.
In Tampa. High schools all have their football games on Friday night, and a light rain started to trickle out there, so business slowed down. And although Friday nights were usually crazy busy, it got lower. Sales slowed down quite a bit, so that was an opportunity for me as a good manager to cut labor.
Sure.
All right, and save a few dollars. And I did. And it was just me and our 4 closers. You close the restaurant with 4 closers, and everybody had their assignments to close. It was probably about, 30 or 40 minutes before closing, and this bus pulls into the parking lot, and there was a van behind them. There were some adults in the van, and it hemorrhaged everybody in what seemed like 5 seconds, and they're storming here. They come storming the doors.
Unbelievable.
Trying to jockey for the best position to get their order taken, and there was no best position. I had one person that was responsible for the front counter, and one was back cleaning dishes, starting to clean the dishes in the back, and anyhow, they come in, and I had 2 options. Option 1, I could kick the trash can and go, son of a beep. Yeah, we're never going to get out of here now on time. And I could yell at the crew, drop some damn French fries. You get on the grill and cook. That was option A. I didn't take option A. So as they filled the lobby and got in front of the counter, it was pretty loud. I picked option 2, and it's not in any training manual. I jumped up on the front counter of the restaurant by the cash registers. I put my hands up in the air and I said, "Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to McDonald's. I know you're all hungry and you want something to eat." I said, looks like about 40, 50 of you, and I've got my 4 closing crew here. I said, we may not get you out of here in the 3.5 minutes that you're used to, but you're about to witness the best McDonald's crew you have ever seen, and we'll get you out of here as quick as possible. Form 2 lines over here, if you will, please. They started cheering like crazy.
Yes, that's amazing.
And those 4 crew members, they thought I was crazy, and they were probably right. But we kicked ass.
That's amazing.
We kicked ass, and we got them out as fast as we could. They were happy. The coaches, they came and thanked us, and we gave the bus driver the free meal that he deserved for pulling into our parking lot.
That
magical,
is incredible.
Magical. And you talk about in the book, you made a memory. I mean, those 4 crew members, I'm sure, those closers, that remember that story to this day.
Yeah, you can't forget that.
And how many of us, though, are faced with those type of situations? You know, every week, every month, where you could kick the can and curse and say, I'm just going to get this done, or you lean into it and you create and you force a magical moment for not only the customer but your team, and that seemed like the real win there.
Everybody has a bus coming. That bus is going to show up sometime, many times, but if you meet it with confidence and with the right attitude, and you choose, the best option, you'll get through it, and you will grow from it. I promise you, it's a guarantee.
Generating happiness. If you haven't picked up the book, go on Amazon and pick it up just for that story right there. I mean, you talk about the epitome of your message and your legacy and your purpose. And just your personal reason why this journey's been so important. That story is just so profound for any business, any craft, any career. And that's just one lesson. The whole book is unbelievable. So incredible. I wanted to come back to another one of the points you made in the book, which was magic glasses. Talk about the magic glasses. Can you hinted to it as far as one of your components of why you hire from, or why you promote from within, but talk about that real briefly on what magic glasses are and how that's applicable in your business.
Magic glasses are something that we all should wear and don't often wear in our day-to-day exchanges with people from all walks of life, and especially in our business. And, we mentioned empathy a little while ago, but everybody has a pile that they're dealing with, whether it be family, financial, work issues, car issues, whatever it may be. Everybody has a pile. And if you could put on a pair of glasses that allowed those piles to be revealed to you, you would love your pile more than you ever have before. He said, oh my God, look at that person. They just lost their child to cancer, or, oh my, that person, he had to beg for $1 to get that cup of coffee that they're drinking over there, and on and on. You could make up all kinds of scenarios. But if you have that in your heart, you look at things differently. You look at your employees differently if you understand that what may be coming from them from frustration or challenges or what they are dealing with is behind what you see on the surface. And maybe it's incumbent upon you to ask an empathetic question to help them to get to the next station that's safer for them. There's one story that I tell in the book about this kid, Devon, that worked at our South Dale Mabry restaurant. He worked the drive-thru. Young kid working a drive-thru position. But he was full of vitality, and I think he wore a pair of those empathetic glasses. He just simply knew, or he just had it in him to light people up. And Lee was coming through the drive-thru in the car, and she gets up to the drive-thru window, and he says, I had a dream about you. I knew you were coming today. Here's your Egg McMuffin. Have a great day. Lit her up. And she left. And she took a picture of him and posted it on Facebook, Instagram. I'm not really sure where. Her name is Lee Spann. She's the meteorologist for Channel 8.
Oh, wow.
And when she posted that 7-second exchange, from Devon. She said, I was really, really depressed that morning. I went to McDonald's to get my cup of coffee and my Egg McMuffin. After leaving the veterinary clinic where they just put my dog down, my best friend, after I don't know how many years and whatnot, and she said, I was really not in a good place until I met Devon. And he just completely changed my perspective for the day and helped me get through it because of that exchange. Wow. He had no idea, really. That's just him being himself. But everybody that pulls up, maybe not to your drive-through, but maybe in the parking space where your office is, or maybe into the house you're pulling up for a business meeting and call, everybody has that pile, and it's incumbent upon you to understand and be empathetic and maybe ask questions to help alleviate the pressures that produce.
Clinic. A total clinic.
Yeah, it's a total clinic. And I think it's very interesting and worthy of noting that you said ask questions, right? Just to, we talk about doing a better job as leaders of asking questions and not making assumptions. Yeah. And whether somebody's performance are struggling or their attitude's struggling, not to assume that you know why, right? But it just a simple, how are you doing? How are you doing today? And that question itself, standalone, even if you don't have the nuances of that developed skill, will probably give you way more than you can imagine.
It's a skill. It's a skill too. It's a muscle. I mean, it's one of the journeys that I know for me. I mean, Taylor's on it too, and I've learned it from him. Is I'm being very intentional about trying to ask more questions, and it's challenging for me. I have a note. I sent a picture, and I sent it to the boys this morning. It was Rod and Taylor, and it's on my mirror when I wake up every day. It says, when you want to give an opinion, ask a question. And I am aware enough now to know that it's in my face, to know that I don't do it a lot. And it's almost habitual. And it's such a different skill to lead with a question. It not only provokes someone to come closer, it invites them into a genuine conversation that's people driven, but it also makes you more aware that, this is a conversation. This isn't just about trying to get an outcome that you're looking for. And that's the next pivot I wanted to make, because the empathy is huge, and you make a lot of incredible points within the book. And we know you, and I know that's a big component. But you also talk about in the book of holding standards. And you also talk in the book about having a significant focus on making sure that performance and the standard in which we operate is at a certain level, and that there becomes a point, if you don't hold those standards, it can become toxic environment for everybody, specifically for high achievers, And so help me understand that philosophy on how you guys feel about that, how you felt about it, how you handled it, how you executed it, but also in contrast with the dichotomy of high empathy, but also holding high standards. Because most of the time when we hold high standards, there can be consequences involved with that, right? There are situations that create some friction. And so how do you approach that from a leadership standpoint, one-on-one, but also from an organizational standpoint, to put on your magic glasses, but also make sure that you're creating a place where the culture, believes that high standards are important for the good of the whole cause?
There's a lot of different ways I could answer this. I'll start with this one. There's a chapter I call Mustard, Ketchup, Pickle, Onions, and I talk about a McDonald's hamburger that was made when McDonald's started in 1955 with Ray Kroc's first store in Des Plaines, Illinois. That's how they made a hamburger. It was a toasted bun with a 10-to-1 meat, 100% all beef patty on it with mustard, ketchup, pickle, and onions. If you get a McDonald's hamburger today, it's the same thing. It's it's a toasted bun, and you get mustard, ketchup, pickle, and onions on it. Except in New York, we don't put mustard on it in New York, because New Yorkers say mustard goes on a hot dog. Yeah. but that's it. It's a standard, and McDonald's has those standards on how every product is supposed to be made. When it comes to standards on a larger scale in running a business, you have to have standards and expectations of those that you are working with to get to where you have been. I've heard you guys say over and over, leaders don't become great leaders other than by creating other leaders. That is the signature of a good leader, by how many leaders they create. So when you're running a business and you're developing people, you have to have standards that they need to live up to, and they need to be able to produce for a multitude of reasons. Not only for the business to be successful, but for them to be successful and have opportunities to grow. In any business, there are some that you work with, you nurture, and you use all of your experience because you've traveled that road to help them grow, and you hold them up to the high standards that will help grow them in the business, and they fail, and they can't, and they try. There's a very difficult space here where a leader has to decide whether they have what it takes to be successful in the business. And sometimes you're doing more damage by trying to salvage them and save them in something that they are not going to be successful at. And you may be doing them a favor by cutting that umbilical cord and letting them find something where they can be successful. That's a tough thing to do.
I'm so happy we're having this conversation because this is real life stuff.
Oh, yeah.
This is apparent in every business, and anyone that's trying to go to the next level and push. These are just the things that show up. And, from a tactical standpoint, how you handle these and what's your North Star and what's your guiding light on that, it matters so much. So I'm so happy you're speaking to this.
My ego got in the way at one point in my career when I was an area supervisor. I was supervising 4 locations. One of the locations was close to our home office. So, the executives and the people there visited that McDonald's.
That's tough for the staff, huh?
Yeah, more often than others. And the manager that I had there was struggling. And I knew he was struggling, but I'm Bob, and I could save anybody. I knew I could salvage him. We'll call him Brett. Oh yeah, I forgot.
I wish no punches, right? Yeah,
sorry. We'll call him Bartholomew.
That's a good
Bartholomew. He was great with numbers, and but he just did not have the skill set to motivate people and to keep an operation running at peak performance. His paperwork was great. So I saw, the food cost was high, the labor costs were high, turnover was high, the P&L numbers were being squeezed, and but I'm going to keep working with Bartholomew, and I'm going to make him something special. So my operations vice president, I met him at that store. They had outside tables. We sat down, and he leaned in. And you ever seen a great white shark before they bite? Those things go over their eyes and they're all black. Well, I swear his eyes went black, and he said, Bob, I know if my head was about to roll, a lot more heads would roll before mine does.
Uh-oh. Wow.
So I heard him clearly, and I fired Bartholomew the next day. Now, there was plenty of documentation. It was all.
And how long was this where you started to see issues? Was this 6 months? Was this 2 months? Was this a year where you were in this fix-it mode? I can fix it.
Probably 4 or 5 months of it ain't happening. It ain't happening. You document it and so forth. So anyway, the thing I hated to do most was fire people. I hated it. I absolutely hated it, unless it was something egregious, somebody stealing something like that. That empathetic, mindset. He's got a family. He's got his own bills. I'm thinking about that. So fast forward 5 years from when I let Bartholomew go. I was in that same restaurant. I don't even know why, but he was in there. And he had his 5-year-old son there with him. They were eating his Happy Meal and his lunch.
This is a customer.
He's just a customer in there right now. I said, Bart, how you doing? And it's good to see you. It's Bob. How are you? He says, yeah. I says, I got to tell you, when you fired me, that was the best thing that ever could have happened to me.
Get out of here.
I just got a promotion at this accounting firm that I'm working at. And he said, life is good. I just wanted to thank you.
Oh, my goodness.
Now, is every circumstance going to have that kind of? No, they're not. But that one did. Mm-hmm. And that was a life lesson for me 5 years later to clearly understand the benefit of what happened when I had to let him go.
That's amazing.
I do want to ask in that same context, how did you guys handle when somebody wasn't performing in a particular situation? And that was a manager situation. So I tend to believe and assume that's a little harder. When you have somebody that's leading a store, that's probably a little bit different than the new guy that's been there 2 months and he's not performing. And you just don't have the confidence that they're going to get it. But that could be an assumption. But curious too, you mentioned people that used to work in the stores that now work in accounting and so on and so forth. When would you kind of see that somebody is valuable, they're a fit, but they're just not in the right position? And then how would you guys handle it? Because you talked about the firing part. I think that's incredible because that's a real answer. That's a real usable answer for any business owner or any team leader that's listening to this. But how do you make that distinguish whether they need to transition out of the business and it's just not the season they are to be there with the company versus maybe there's another seat on the bus in another area of the business?
We move them. We do that, and it's usually not a one-person decision. Usually there are operations vice presidents, area supervisors, general managers, and assistant managers that all can chime in and talk about somebody's strengths and weaknesses. And we've done this many times. We've had some that it just wasn't the right time for them in their life, and they get demoted from general manager to a first assistant manager or some other position, and then they rise up and become great general managers in the future. Others have some skill sets that would transfer into a completely different area, like what happened with Amanda here. She's in sales in Melbourne out there on fire, and you have something that here said, she is showing exactly what I think we need here at the office. Let's create this position, and what more can we get out of her skill set here than we could over there? It could impact a lot more people. At McDonald's, I said on both sides of the counter. There's the employee side and there's the customer side. And you may not have a counter, but she could have more of an impact on the training side and ultimately on the customer side that you're selling policies to. So it's the same thing. You could try, and sometimes you'll find, wow, they excel there. but it's sometimes they don't.
Man, there's just every time you talk, and this happened to me when I was reading the book, it's just like I'm shaking my head, because we had somebody, they work here today, and they are our top performer. I mean, they are the top performer in the entire agency right now, and they had worked with us in the past, but they were on the different side of the aisle. They were on the commercial side, and it just, I don't think it clicked for them. They just didn't really enjoy it. And, there just wasn't that level of, man, I don't know if they're going to get it. And fast forward today, that person's on the personal line side, and they're the number one performing person in the entire organization. So was that a person issue, or was that a leadership problem? To me, I look at it and go, that was a leadership issue. Right? Mm-hmm. So you can call it whatever you want, but, I look at us and go, well, we missed it the first time, and same person, same skill set, very same timeline, not that far off, different seat, completely different performance, completely different impact. And that's an aha moment for me, where before you even said that, it's like, click. It's like, if somebody, you could have the right person, but if they're not in the right seat, right, you're just not going to get the result. It's not good for them. It's not good for the customer. It's not good for the organization. It's not good for both sides of the counter. So, what a huge lesson to take inventory and make sure that people are getting out of the organization what you want them to get out of it, and that they're in the right spot. It's huge.
I heard Taylor say on a previous podcast that you can learn as much from a bad manager than you can from a good one. You simply learn what not to do, and you don't incorporate that into your style. Where somebody, obviously, that is a great leader, you want to take some of those skills and make it a part of your own. And the higher you go up on the leadership scale, you have to be able to recognize that this person is not excelling here. Let's move them somewhere, wherever that, for us, we had all these different restaurants we could move people to, and we had, a big home office, and we actually had other businesses as well. So we had that opportunity. As we're getting closer to the end of this podcast, it's sad for me to say that Blake Casper has sold all 60 of his remaining restaurants, but he has a multitude of other businesses. Yes. That he has moved a ton of his leadership into hotels and this hospitality, fine dining restaurants, and a big service company and so forth. And a skill set is a skill set, and a lot of times it's transferable into other walks of life. And it's up to those at the top to recognize that. That's one of the, I think, the most impressive parts of the history of the Casper legacy was the ability of the leadership to see and seek out the best that were in there. Almost all the greatest leadership in the company clean toilets and urinals. Mm-hmm. At one point as a start, to become the vice presidents, and leaders of their own, and actually became owner-operator. Some of them grew up and started their own franchises out there as well.
That sounds familiar. Yeah. That sounds familiar to your son-in-law, Matt Ekberg. But I do want to, because you do such a great job, and this comes off, and I haven't had the chance and the honor to meet Blake Casper and the Casper family. But, man, you just you share such immense gratitude, respect, and you honor them in such an amazing way, and I know that is deserved and that is earned, and I look forward to. I know they're one of the most influential families, and Blake's one of the most influential people, not only in the Tampa Bay area but potentially in the state of Florida, and they've had tremendous success in business, but they've had tremendous success seemingly in people like your lives and the people that you've been able to touch. So I just really appreciate the way that in the book and in your conversations, the way you honor the Casper family. And I just wanted to kind of give you a moment to give them some love on why that is. You spoke at length about how you just loved your job and how it kind of makes people uncomfortable because most people don't love their job and don't love who they work for. And they're not excited to come to work and they don't see every day as an opportunity. And here's Bob saying, man, I just love my job. And I love the people I work with. So I just wanted to give you the platform, and I just really appreciate it.
My goal in life, I set a goal this year. It's congruent with my past goals, but to be able to help people understand generating happiness is not just a clever cliche. It's a thing. It's a real thing that will impact every single aspect of your life. So backing up to give some love to the Casper family in my journey. When I started, I was a college kid. I got married way too young. I was 20 years old. That marriage didn't last, and full-time job. I was working maintenance at an apartment complex. I'm married too young. I've got bills. I needed a better job for life support. I went and I applied. My mom was an assistant manager, and my kid's sister, she was a hostess at one of their stores. And I said, you should apply. It's a really good company. They have 11 McDonald's at the time when I started.
Wow.
And that was big back then in 75.
Still big right now.
Yeah.
I mean, goodness gracious.
Well, yeah, they were always on the top echelon. So anyhow, they gave me a shot. And I worked hard. I mean, there were long hours, hard work on hard floors, standing up for 10 hours at a time on hard floors, tough shifts, going in early, staying late. But they saw something in me all along the way, and especially Joe Casper, Blake's dad. I had approached him at one point. I was trying to create a position for myself, and he says, Bob, this is a great idea, but not right now. So, damn, not right now. But he heard me, and a couple of years later, I got the call down to the office at community relations position, if I'm interested. And after they peeled me off of the ceiling, yes, I'm interested. And he saw something in me. And Blake Casper also saw something in me, so much so that when he created the NOA, the National Owners Association, for all McDonald's, he had, 1,400 members. 3/4 of all owner-operators belonged to this organization.
It's mind-blowing.
Yeah, it's huge.
Mind-blowing.
So he had the national conference in Dallas out there, and he said, would you be a speaker? And I said, Blake, I'd be honored to be a speaker. I said, what would you like me to speak to? He says, Bob, what else? Generating happiness. And so he had faith in me and put me on a stage in front of 1,200 owner-operators. I was on the stage, and the screen seemed like it was 3 city blocks long behind me. And what an honor it was to speak to them. He asked me to do it again the following year in Dallas. And that kind of faith and love of the business. I have a loss for words about it on what it's meant to me in my journey and my life. I want to speak, lastly, to generating happiness and what that is. Our founding fathers really talk about it, and nobody really, I think, fully understands it. In our Declaration of Independence, when they talk about our inalienable rights of life, liberty, and the
Pursuit of happiness.
The pursuit of happiness, right? Pursuit of happiness. What the hell is that? How do you pursue it, and how do you know when you catch it? Most people think that, the big car, the nice paycheck, the nice house, that's it. I'll be happy when I get all of that. And I'm here to tell you that's a misnomer. It has nothing to do with that. I just was asked to speak to teachers at a conference on the other coast, Jensen Beach, from all over the state. And I asked them, these were CTE teachers, career and technical education teachers from around the state. I said, let me see with a show of hands, how many of you have the moniker of gifted in any of the classes that you teach? And none of them raised their hand. And I said, you're all wrong. I'll give you an F on that. Every one of the students that sits in your classes is gifted. And it's up to you to nurture and emerge that gift so they can discover it and you could help mold it and help it grow. So I'm going to come back to generating happiness. We're all gifted. Yeah. We all have that special gift that the Lord has put it in all of us. And sometimes it takes time for us to discover it. For me, it was late in my life. I was in my 50s, and I'm putting my job description together because people are asking for a profile before they introduce me and whatnot. And I wrote all these things that I did. And I said, well, what's the net of everything that I do? I generate happiness. Whether it's handing that Happy Meal, whether it's an incentive award I give to an employee, whether it's shaking your hand and saying, congratulations, you're being promoted to general manager. All those things, everything that I did, the net was generating happiness. So I took that job description. That's it. That's my job description. I gave it to everybody in the company, all 4,000 employees. That's where you start. Whatever your responsibility is, you're gifted to have that job. Use that gift to the best of your ability to do that job the best that you can. And the gifts that are returned to you are promised, and they will unfold 10 times than anything you expected. And my life has been so enriched and so blessed by my wife, my family, my kids, my job, my journey, where I'm sitting right now. These are all gifts coming back to me. They're not in the form of a paycheck or a bonus or anything like that. These are the greatest gifts.
Wow. Dude, you are such a gift to us. You are such a gift to the people that you impact. That book is such a memoir of your life and such a textbook for building something special. So if, again, listeners, if you're listening to this, go on Amazon, Generating Happiness, Bob Conigliaro. Please pick it up. I just wanted to say thank you so much for spending the time with us. This is impactful. I had a full page of notes, and now I'm going to have to go back and add to that with all of your context. So I appreciate it, Tay. I don't know if you had anything else you wanted to share, but
Same.
what impactful.
We're definitely going to have you back on. But thank you for sharing those gifts. I'm over here emotional and fired up, and I couldn't echo. Sometimes you have to get through a whole book to understand, and then you pull things from it that are useful. The way that you've laid out that book, the thought that went into it, the experience that went into it. Yeah. I'm in chapter 1 and 2 when I start reading it, and I'm already texting people. You got to get this book, and of course you finish it and you have a wealth of knowledge that has gone into it. But I mean, from word one, you start extracting value, not only from your story, but any small business owner, leader, or somebody who's starting a career could save themselves a decade or a couple decades by taking the time to go through that.
That's the hope, that people from all walks of life, working and not working, can be able to extrapolate benefits. And if they want the book autographed, they can get it on my website.
Oh, wow. Perfect.
Generatinghappiness.com.
Wow, you got that domain?
How did you get that?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
We are going to promote that in the notes and anything we post on social.
Yes.
So generatinghappiness.com.
Sure.
Amazing.
Unbelievable. Goodness gracious. That's awesome. Well, Bob, thank you so much. Man, you're a gift. I can't say it enough. So, and we just got a treat. So if you listen to this and you got a lot out of it, please share the podcast. Please follow Bob. Go to the website. Pick up the book. Thank you so much, Bob. Bye-bye for now.
Thanks, guys.